So, thanks for the timing on this, BBC. So, there's a new trailer, or I guess a first proper trailer for Revolution of the Daleks, the holiday special. I think it's now confirmed Christmas. I'm just saying I think because I feel like it's been confirmed and then that turned out to be I don't know. I don't know what's what, and I'm a little bit brain scrambled because this is the Sunday after Thanksgiving here in the US, and that's the day that I go and me and the family, we pick out a tree and we set that up. Like, I'm kind of spent at this point, but this thing's out and I'm already behind because most of the YouTubers that I follow had their videos up several hours ago as of the time of this recording. So yeah, let me get this thing going. At the time that I am watching this, I know they've confirmed Captain Jack is back, which is awesome. Other than that, like the leak of the image of a Dalek, and they've shown some more official things since then. I think they look okay. I think they look fine. I'm not sure I would want it to become the new standard design for a Dalek, but I'm taking it as the design for this story, and I'm fine with that. Personally, I see other people complaining about it. I don't see the issue. And of course, we've had images of the Doctor, what looks like locked in something and ticking off days, or maybe recording Sightings of the Silence. I doubt it. But we'll see. So let me actually take a look at this thing proper, shall we?
How many people in the universe get to meet the Doctor, let alone travel with her? Being with the Doctor, you don't get to choose when it stops, whether you leave her or...
Definitely a prison.
The Doc would really want us to keep an eye on the planet, right?
But how is that possible?
If you don't help, the human race is going down.
Okay, so she's been out of action for a bit.
As of now, you will see new defense drones at work.
Whoa!
These machines are going to change the world.
Oh, he's back. Lovely.
Remember us?
I'm Captain Jack Harkness, and I'm immortal.
Are you feeling insecure? Because you seem to need a lot of praise.
It is great to see that smile.
Do I?
Maximum extermination. Not you guys.
Chris Oath.
Now, Jack!
Squareness gotten.
Stay strong. People waiting for you.
Oh, New Year's Day. Look at that.
click
It
the like
wasn't
and subscribe
Christmas.
to the official
Oh,
Doctor Who
yeah.
YouTube
I know,
channel.
Jody. I know. Okay. So, let's see. It looks like we're getting a little bit, I'm sure it's not a direct follow-up, but spiritually something akin to Victory of the Daleks in terms of the Daleks tricking people, convincing people, people thinking they know how to control the Daleks and use them for their own purposes, kind of like Churchill thought he was doing. So that's an idea that has been explored to some degree before, but A, it's been a while, and B, the Doctor kind of got in on that before that really got fully implemented. That was still like early stages before Churchill did what would have been a full rollout or something like that. This looks like we're dealing with something that's more of a complete rollout of Daleks, possibly as quote-unquote peacekeeping forces, kind of had that look and vibe, and it would also justify the new look. So... it would also explain if they choose to not keep that look around. So if this is the look for whatever this is, whether it be Daleks designed by humans, Daleks working in conjunction with humans, like this is something else. I think they're totally allowed to look different. And honestly, I kind of like the glowing lights, like around on it. I think it's a decent look. Again, I'd have to see more of it to decide whether or not it's something I'd want to stick around. But for the purposes of one-off story, yeah, totally fine. So, seeing Chris Noth's character. Now, I'm going to try and keep an open mind on that. However, I hated arachnids in the UK. I really hated that episode so much. And his character was one of the reasons I really hated it. Now, to be fair, that does not automatically mean that I'm going to hate him here, because a big part of why I hated him in that episode was, first of all, he was so obviously a Trump analog that maybe it makes more sense in the UK to do that as parody, and like, fine, but as an American, I was living with that. I didn't really need to see a proxy of it. Thank you very much. That was part of it. And the other thing was, he really contributed nothing to that story whatsoever. Like, they did technically tie him into what was going on with the giant spiders, but in any meaningful way, there was no need for him to be there. Definitely no need for him to be there for as long as he was. He would eat up as much screen time as he did with these just really awful lines that he was given. Now, Chris Noth is a good actor. And if they are having this be a more out-and-out political aspect, which seems to be the case with something like the Daleks at 10 Downing Street, and something along those lines, if he strikes me as the kind of person, based off what we saw before, who would be stupid enough to think he's clever enough to manipulate the Daleks for his own purposes. It takes a very special kind of stupid to have me believe that someone would think they can do that. And for the kind of character he played, yeah, I buy it. So if they needed somebody to fill that role of someone foolish enough to cut a deal with the Daleks or think he could control them or whatever, yeah, he works for that. And depending again on specifics, if they can integrate what he's doing and, have his presence have more relevance to the story, this could feasibly be a much better use of a character I otherwise really didn't like. Just because I dislike a character doesn't mean there's no way to do them correctly. There are characters who I dislike at initial intro, and then later times when they show up, it works better for me. I've had that go the other way too. So just because I either really liked or really disliked a character at the first introduction isn't necessarily a reason to never use them again. It is a reason to use them again with caution, or at least from my perspective it is, because again, didn't like that episode, kind of hated him a lot. But again, to emphasize, not the actor's fault. He did a pretty good job delivering what they were asking him to do. It's just at a script level, what the character was unnecessary and not funny and just infuriated me with his presence. So, and honestly, maybe the fact that Trump has now lost his re-election, don't argue with me on that, for God's sake, that I'll be a little bit more receptive to parodies of him, which he is. I know in universe he was like, no, I'm not him. I'm like, yeah, you are. So you can deny it all you want. You're still an analog. I know it, you know it, everybody knows it. Don't insult us by insisting he's not. But I like that the emphasis in the trailer is on pretty much everything except the Doctor. That's actually, I think, kind of a clever way to set things up because it creates an anticipation, because it especially looks like that the story is taking this element of the Doctor has been out of commission for a bit of time, because you've got the companions talking about, well, this is what she would want us to do if she were here. So you get a sense of, well, she's not around. And with Jack there, it seems to be trying to pick up the slack. And I think it helps if you're going to try and sell her absence in the actual episode when it airs, then it's kind of a good call to give a sense of that absence in the trailer itself. So she's just showing like a couple of glimpses at the front end, but then she really only has anything to say at the end. And she's still locked up in this thing. So we don't see her outside of it. We don't really know why she's there. We don't really know what's going on yet, but we just know that things are going down and she's not around. And the trailer actually sells that vibe really well, just by simply relegating her to a couple glimpses at the end and then a couple of glimpses at the beginning and then a little bit at the end. That's a good way to assemble this trailer based off what I'm kind of presuming the story might be. Now, I say presuming because I've gone out of my way to avoid the rumors and leaks and there are people who say, well, it's going to be this. Like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know what the story is ahead of time. But from what I'm getting a sense of, I'm intrigued. And I'm intrigued at the way they're selling it. I'm intrigued at what it looks like they are selling me in the first place. I'll be curious as to whether the sense of melancholy and weight on the Doctor is purely from being locked up, or if there is some lingering damage from the revelations about the Timeless Child. Now, again, to be clear, I hate it. I still hate the Timeless Child, but if you're gonna do it, it needs to have consequences on her as a character. So I'm wondering if that is something we're going to start to see here, or if they're going to punt that just to Series 13 proper. Either of which I think would be valid, especially given the usually pretty one-off nature of the holiday specials. They're usually not expected to either drive or pick up massive plot points unless, they were like, say, The End of Time, which was David Tennant, the end of his run. Those are really I guess also Time of the Doctor. But the ones that aren't exits, so Time of the Doctor, Twice Upon a Time, the ones that aren't Doctor exits aren't really expected to pull a lot of weight in terms of overall story impact. So while I would kind of like to see at least a hint of the impact of those revelations on her, because again, if you're not going to have an impact on her, why do it in the first place? And even if you do that, I probably still won't like it, but at the very least, play it out if you're going to do it. So, we'll see. I think that's about all I've got to say. Trailer for Revolution of the Daleks. What do you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Usual stuff. Like, share, subscribe. I have a Patreon. It is how I afford things like Christmas trees, which went up today. So any help you're able to lend me there is greatly appreciated. Even if you're not, all the other stuff I mentioned, the likes, the shares, subscribes, all help me, but no pressure. Because take a relaxed attitude around here. So just come on back next time you need a break.